Bill Bradley, life began in the late 40s. The Bay Area resident is preparing for the world's toughest foot race. The 50-year-old became a glutton for punishment in 2005 after he went through bankruptcy and a divorce simultaneously.
It was total devastation for me. There was nothing left but my life, really.
4 months after filing bankruptcy and my wife leaving, I woke up at like 5 in the morning or 4 in the morning and got out the door and went down and ran 50 miles like my frickin' life depended on it, because it did, man. I needed to do something to snap me out of that funk, and it did.
He is one of the all-time greats at endurance extreme competition. Bill Bradley completed what is called the Ultimate Tahoe Triathlon, 15-mile bike swim, 300-mile bike over 8 mountain passes, capped off by a 100-mile run, finished it in 5 days, 16 hours, and as the old saying goes, lived to tell about it.
And that was the start. And then I said, man, if that makes me feel good, what about if I ran 100 miles? Or what if I biked? I did a 200-mile bike and then a 500-mile bike, and did a 100-mile run, in the Bay Area, 100-mile race, and then thought, wow, that was great. I wonder if I could do that in Alaska. So I ran 100 miles in Alaska, and then I went to Death Valley and ran 100 miles, and I just kind of kept doing it. And I was biking, I ended up, biking 100, 200 miles, 500 miles, then I biked all the way across America in 16 days. And I'd climbed Whitney. I did Whitney when I was doing the triathlons, and I'd done a double Badwater where you climb Whitney, so I was looking for the next big challenge. And then I must have heard, I don't know if I know anybody who had at that time who had climbed Denali, but I had heard of it. All right, coming back from my 5th attempt at Mount Denali in Alaska, the world's coldest mountain. We start our climb tomorrow, am I right? Holy cows, we start our climb tomorrow! The 30th. Packing up for our 5th attempt at Mount Denali. And the reason I'm coming back is I just don't frickin' quit, man. I can't stand if something gets the best of me. And so this is my 5th attempt, and every time when I don't make the mountain, when I don't finish it, I learn from it and I go back and adjust my training. Now that I've done some different training and stuff and working on my mind and my weaknesses, is to take my 5th attempt at the mountain. Go time! It's been about 10 years probably since I did my first attempt. The first one I felt sick when I got to Anchorage, just coming down with some bug, right? And I remember I had a fever, man, and I was so hot. I unzipped my sleeping bag down to air myself out because I was so hot, and it was -5 degrees. And then I'm going, man, I'm really sick. And then I went to sleep and I woke up with my hand outside the bag, right? Which is my bare hand, which is no! And I put it back in here, and it couldn't have been for very long though. But then I said, okay, I think I need to talk to the guides about going down, because I was really, really in bad shape. And then when I went down, it was somewhere between like 200 and 400 yards, if you slid, you're going off a 2,000 foot drop. And when I got to that section, I fell. And I'm like digging my self-arrest where you dig your ice axe into the snow. And then I went down, I had to go to the hospital because they thought I had pneumonia and I was so sick, but I just had like a really, really bad case of bronchitis. And that falling in the no-fall zone like left freaking crap in my head, because I remember when I went back up a couple years later, so I took a year off from mountain climbing, and I went back up a couple years later to Shasta, and I was like freezing up, just like in fear, like right away. As soon as it got any kind of steep, I was like, and so as soon as I started going up the hill, I felt like I was going up, just a little hill. It felt like I was going up the no-fall zone, so I had to just keep working at it until I could go back up Denali again, And this second time, I think I was swimming at the same time with the English Channel, and I was not in real good mountain climbing shape, I remember. So, I mean, that's the only one where I didn't feel like, the cross training from swimming did not cross over to mountain climbing. Like half my brain was still not right, and half was I really wasn't in the right kind of shape for mountain climbing, And then let me think, my third attempt, we got snowed in for 8 days, 8 feet of snow in 8 days, at the 10,000 foot camp. The guy got the weather report, there was gonna be a short period of time where it cleared, and our team decided to go for the next camp, and we just get hammered with a blizzard, man. And the temperature drops like -20, hardly any visibility. We're just hammered, man. And we had to retreat, to go back down. And then we had to reset back up our camp and all this stuff. But when all this was going on, I had I just had liner gloves, and, we're trying to set back up our camp, and it just was not smart, And I pushed it a little far with the liner gloves. Anyway, the bottom line is I frostbit my hands pretty good, man. I ended up having to go down because I was in a lot of pain, and I was really frostbit pretty good. So then I was visiting my buddy in Homer, Alaska, so we went down there and we went to the doctor again, my third doctor, and this guy like really knew frostbite really good. And he's like putting his hand, like rubbing around and doing all this. And he says, can you feel that? I go, yeah. He goes, well, you're gonna keep the thumb then. And so then I put a glove on it, and I said, I ain't taking this off because I want no more amateur opinions, And so I put the glove on, but man, it hurt like hell for like 6 weeks. Like really, really bad, man. I mean, it was, I was in a lot of pain. Yeah, my fourth attempt was the one where I was strong, and I made it up to 14,000. So I hadn't made it up to 14,000 since the first year. So my fourth attempt, I made it up to 14,000 again, and we went up the fixed lines, which I'd never done before, which is straight up, And I made it up that, and I made it all the way up to high camp. And the team, we only had 1 day rest, and the team's going up. And if I'm not strong enough to go up, I got to go down. And you throw on that I'm weak. And then, I went down, and we went to the high camp, and I was worked. I was really exhausted. It was a hard push for me that day. Anyway, so we're going down, and I remember like there's this crevasse or whatever. It was off to the right, and I was just so tired that when we were going down, I kind of slid over to the left, and the guy was yelling at me, he goes, don't slide over to the left, right, And I couldn't help it, I was just exhausted, and I got a little bit off and I broke through this crevasse. All of a sudden I just go down, man, and I'm roped, but I dropped 25 feet. And then I swear to God, I look over to my right, because you can see the daylight from the hole above. And there's a freaking gloved hand sticking out of the wall. And so I climbed out, and the girl who was coming down with me, she goes, man, Bill, you were so freaking exhausted, man. And then the guy was really mad at me, so he roped his rope around my pack and started dragging it down the hill. You know, I'm following this guy pulling my thing with the rest of the team, and he's pulling my, you know, and we only had like not that much further to camp, so it was just to humiliate me, you know what I mean? And he did a good job of it. And so I got into camp, you know, with my tail between my legs. And we hiked down a little bit further, and then we got to another, you know, I think we spent the night there, then we got down to another camp, and there was somebody else from this guide group down there, and so he left us with them till our team came off the mountain, you know, so he was done with us. And so, yeah, we ended up going down with our original team, so. But yeah, a lot of fear, man, a lot of stuff's happened to me on that mountain, a lot, man. It's like a crazy mountain, for me anyway. Day one, we're up at base camp. 7,000 something feet, like 400 or something. We did our gear check today. They went through all our gear, make sure we're ready for coming up on the mountain and climbing. And then we took our plane ride up here, which is always fun and beautiful and thrilling, and you never know if you're gonna get up here because the clouds come in and out. And now we're ready to start day 2 tomorrow. Today was a pretty tough day. I think we were dragging about 120 pounds between our pack and our sled up Denali. So we went from base camp and up at camp 1. I think base camp was 7,200 feet, and I think we're at like, what are we at now?
8,200.
We went up 1,000 feet?
Yeah.
Wow, that was hard. It took 5.5 hours to go 1,000 feet, but it was all uphill and dragging. And it was like a crazy day because we cached, like we took half our gear from Camp 1, moved it up to about 9,000 feet and buried it in a hole. So we take half of it up so that it makes it more palatable to move around 120 pounds of gear. It works to move your gear around, and then what it also works for is acclimating you too to the altitude by moving you up and down. And that was what we did today. And we had like 2 guides going crevices today, and it was a big deal, man. It's pretty emotional to me because they just like immediately just disappeared down in these holes. The guides were just great at how to anchor them in and get us all teamed up to pull them out. And that's what we did. So we pulled both of them out. But what a crazy day. Like I said, I've done this 4 times. And I'm the only person I ever seen fall in a crevice. So when you're on the mountain, man, it's definitely a freaking dangerous mountain, man. But we got half our gear up, so we're still on schedule. We haven't even lost a day to snow or anything yet. We're just still moving our way up the mountain, and it's not an easy mountain. We're in the, in the meat of it for me, man. It's where the steeper parts start.
How was that?
My first attempt at Denali, I got sick and fell pretty much all the way down the mountain, which really freaked me out on falling and steepness. Just started getting over that, and then I fell in a crevice, so that whole thing came back again where I'm gripping going downhill like this, just so nervous. Tough day, really tough day. We moved from Camp 2 to Camp 3, 11,000 feet to 14,000 feet. I had probably between a 55 and 60 pound pack and a 6.5 hour climb. And that was our 7th day in a row of climbing. So I was really, really feeling it. But, got in, set up camp, which takes another hour and a half to set up camp, but a really productive day, but really hard day.
Bill, you doing all right here?
I think I'm done, man. These conditions are a lot harder than when I climbed it before, man. There was a lot of fixed steps, and every time I saw snow, man, I don't want to endanger the team, man. That really bothers me.
Go to the right.
I think Tim, whatever works, but I think these conditions are a lot harder than when I climbed up here before.
Yeah, are they?
They are. Everything was pretty set, you know what I mean? It was firm steps, and all the way up that thing there were.
This is gonna be firm steps.
Okay.
For sure.
There's no guarantee that there's steps. Part of the fix line.
Yeah, because I was watching those guys, and
There
they're
is
spreading their
otherwise.
feet, and that's just so tough, man. When you're, you know what I mean? That's tough for me. When you're putting your feet out, and you're trying to get your grip and do it. I got work pretty good. Just it concerns me. I think I'm just postponing the inevitable. I don't think there's any way I get up tomorrow with a heavier pack if these conditions stayed the same, roughly. I went right by around near where the crevice I fell in last time I was up here, and I got all kinds of crazy feelings and really stressed feeling and low energy. It just drops my energy down to nothing. And then I called Jessie today, and she says, who's my life coach, and I love her. And she says, Bill, I knew I was going to get this call, and I knew you'd hit this where your fear would rise up on this thing. You just had, just too much stuff up there. And she encouraged me to, push through the fear and go for it, Bill, you gotta face that fear. You went up there to face that frickin' fear. So 2 days ago, I went up that frickin' mountain again, up that head wall right there, and I went right around that crevice and went up the head wall and up the fixed lines, and I went up to 16 and did my acclimating day, just like I should have done a couple days before, and made it and came back down and did it all, man. And I went right into the belly of that beast that scared me so freaking bad. This is a big deal to me, big deal, man.
because I was really scared 3 days ago, and this time it's like just go right at the belly of the beast. You go at the belly of the beast. It wasn't as bad the second time.
And so we're heading down, man. I won't get an opportunity to summit. We were trying to work something out, but it didn't work out. And but I'll be back. I never quit, you know. So, you know, face those fears right in the belly of the beast. It was a huge load lifted off of me, and I couldn't face that fear anyplace else but right here, where that frickin' crevice was, you know. And so that's what I'm telling you. Go after those fears, man, and open up your life, man. I feel a lot better, man. I think I would have had a good shot at summiting. Packing up camp, man. Moving from 14 down to base camp. We're gonna go all through the night, 12 hours. We're gonna start at 6 and go till 6 in the morning. Pick up a couple caches and head for that little airstrip on the glacier. Yep, 3 a.m. It's pretty sunny for 3 a.m., doesn't it? We're on the glacier, man, heading back to home base. We got 6:47, so 6 hours and 50 minutes, going all the way through the night. So the snow's hard, the air's cool, and anyway, it was an awesome. It was great strategy going through the night. And you know, I thought I would start falling asleep on my feet and stuff, but it's freaking so light here. It feels like it's daylight all the time. I'm sure in the afternoon today I'll be conked, but yeah, it was a long hike, 12 hours. I don't know how many miles. Probably like 20 something miles, I bet, you know, with a heavy sled and a heavy pack. If you're going to put something big on that goal list and dream list, man, expect it's going to be tough. And you just don't quit. This is my 5th attempt, and I'm not going to quit till I make this thing.
That's the secret to making it in this life, is you just don't quit. You stay on your dream, you stay on your dream, you stay on it. You just have to have the resilience to never quit, right? And so when I come back to Denali, no matter what the hell goes through, whatever happens, whether, you know, the frostbite, the almost falling off the crevasse, the falling in the no-fall zone, the being so sick and so weak trying to get off the mountain, all I think about is when I told my kids, follow your dreams and never freaking quit, right? I've been telling them, and I go, well, I gotta walk my talk, man. I can't quit. I can't quit because I fell in a crevasse. I can't quit because I almost fell off the mountain. I can't quit, you know, for frostbite. I can't quit. I gotta keep coming back, and I gotta show them that you keep going until you do it. I'm hoping that, you know, 5 failed attempts, like, come on, universe, man. Throw me a bone, baby, throw me a bone. And if I summit this year, wherever you are, you will hear the yell. Woo woo!
I'm so grateful for the whole team around here. Just everybody just is fantastic and so supportive, you know, and really wants to help me trying to make it. Anyway, keep facing those fears, man.